In this video, we'll look at a tool called SEMPER, which is a way to map out power issues within the organisation. The fundamental dichotomy we're looking at here is that the physics definition of power is the ability to do work, whereas most social definitions, power is the ability to avoid work. Therein lies some very interesting problems from the organisation's perspective. So on the model, we have in the middle, that kind of yellow band is a kind of neutral, a mid-range. Looking above, we're building increased responsibility, increased choice to work with power. And in below the line, we have dysfunction, both passive and active, avoiding of work and a spiralling avoiding of work. So looking upward, power is seen as the ability to do work. People gain value, real value, from just doing the work itself. We all know that when we've done something well, it feels good. Looking downward with this spiral, the ability to avoid work. The trouble is that if we avoid work, then the work that needs to get done doesn't get done. And so often there's a desire to prevent others from working too in case it makes them look bad, so even less work gets done. It tends to be highly addictive. So the classic answer to this is to put some kind of martinet in charge to try to take control to make sure that needed work happens. The trouble is that that immediately sets off a reaction. It sets up passive dysfunction. It's not my job, mate. I'm avoiding work. I'm offloading responsibility onto the other. So we end up with, it's not my job. Down tools. It particularly happens if people see it as unfair. And not work is addictive. This avoidance of work is addictive because no actual work gets done. So that drags others down into active dysfunction. And because it's addictive, it goes from bad to worse. There's a blame spiral, everyone blaming everyone else for things not happening. And it slowly moves towards propping self up by putting other down. It then spirals even further, if we're not careful, into really bad. The kind of situation where the police are called in. So that's when the martinet and the regulator demand to take control. And everyone gets lined up. If you're kind of an internal military style command and control, someone telling us what to do, and everyone is watched and controlled and measured. But again, that spirals down, particularly when we get the regulator involved, who's trying to force everything from the outside, which is a kind of double layer of forcing. So it spirals down all over again. And we see this so often in business environments. But behind that, there are people who want to do the work. Workers get engaged, particularly when it comes out of people understanding difference. A simplest example of this, perhaps, is ergonomics, allowing for difference. Allowing for different perspectives, using the fact of different perspectives, is often a way to break through a lot of logjams. We also need a much more human boss rather than a martinet to help build balance, to help bring it back. If people get fully engaged with that diversity, we start getting people who will take it to a further stage. That further stage is what we might call wholeness responsibility. There's a feeling of, I am the company, I am responsible for everything that happens here. And whole responsibility is really important. It's where huge power happens, but it's often hard to maintain given all the pressures to pull us back. In particular, we need some kind of vision or continuity to help us maintain that wholeness. We in fact need vision as a guide anywhere above command and control, but the regulator will want command and control because they're afraid of us falling back. The result of them being afraid of us falling back is that we go right the way back to active dysfunction again. It can break down everything that's going on, force it all the way down, and we lose all the value from people being committed to the work. So the boss really has a choice. We've got to keep the regulator at bay, but we need vision to lift the value of the work up, to keep people committed to power as the ability to do the work. Or we're going to be firefighting against active dysfunction, people propping themselves up by putting others down. So there's a kind of lineup we can see here. going all the way from a kind of police to control the things going really bad to the rules-based structure, the kind of military style of everyone has defined roles and everyone is performing to the defined measures. We've got this mid-level command and control. We've got the supporting difference and variance and the importance of vision to really lift people up into wanting to do the work. We've also got to balance the external demand of the regulator, who always wants command and control, which risks pulling everything down. So power is the ability to do work, or is it power is the ability to avoid work? That's what we're mapping with SEMPER, and from there able to start designing interventions to move from move upward in the scale. Thanks for watching. Do look at the YouTube description for links to further detail, and don't forget to subscribe for other videos and also to support us on Patreon to help us produce these videos and the tools themselves.